What is EC2 instance? You have to use EC2 instance. Why is it so popular? What are the different types of EC2 instances? And how you can play around with EC2 instances. So this is going to be the session, and at the end of this video, we do a very simple project where I host a simple web application. So I deploy a web application on this EC2 instance. It can be any DevOps related application as well. For example, we can deploy Jenkins, and Jenkins is again a web application, right? It's a Java web application. I'll deploy any such application for you people, and I'll show you how to access this application from outside world. That means how to access this application from your laptop, what configuration is required, and all of these things. So once you learn that, on day 4, you will learn about networking concepts on AWS. So this is very important, and it is like mandatory thing that you have to learn as a DevOps engineer, the virtual private cloud concept and the networking concept of AWS. Now, why is it very important? Is because you don't just deploy your application, but around that application you create a lot of configurations. For example, you add more security to it, you create some subnets, you create some route tables, design, networking infrastructure for your application, and all of this things comes under virtual private cloud, and some additional networking configuration we will be learning on day 4. And day 5 is going to be the security aspect. So when I say security, you don't have to be much worried about it, because I teach you the networking and security in as easy way as possible. Because this is where most of the people will get confused. When you are doing it on on-premises, you have different names. When you are doing it on cloud, you have different names. And from one cloud to other cloud, you have different names. So I teach this networking and security in such a way that you understand the basics of it. Even if you move from one cloud to another cloud, or if you move back to on-premises, the concept will stay with you. So as part of AWS security, so for this application that we have deployed, or in general, I'll show you how to restrict as much as possible, so that you prevent any unwanted outside access to your application, and we will control these things. I'll show you how to use the network ACLs. I'll show you how to restrict it using the IAM policies and many other things. So this will be covered as part of day 5 AWS security. Then we will move towards day 6. So till now, all of these things that we have covered, so somewhat the other way, they are related towards the compute, networking, security. And one more thing that we will learn on day 6 is AWS Route 53, which is a DNS based service on AWS. And using Route 53, you can do a lot of things. You can play around with Route 53 in AWS. But in general, I'll show you how to manage a specific domain using Route 53, and how to register, how to create DNS records, and some advanced features like health checks, routing policies. These are some things that we'll learn on day 6. And day 7 is the real interesting one. So we will try to create a practical project on what we have learned till now. Using day 2 IAM, EC2 instance, networking, security, Route 53. Using all of these things on day 7, I'll create a interesting project. It can be, right from basics, like I'll show you step by step. Even I have noted down some steps here, but it will be even more detailed than this, because here, anyone who goes through this document, they can understand what is this project going to be about. But on a high level, what I do is I use all of this, and I create a project. So that project will have an application that is created on an EC2 instance, using all the networking, security, Route 53, and all the configuration that DevOps engineers create in a real environment. That is, once you join a project, you will not just deploy an application on EC2 instance, but you will take care of all of these things. And that will be your day 7. So day 7 is going to be very interesting. You should not miss it. Once we are done with all of these things, like the networking, compute, DNS, and all of the things, we'll move to a different section, that is AWS S3. Amazon Web Services, that is AWS. Very likely that you have heard about Amazon S3, because S3 is one of the simplest service but very powerful service that is available on AWS. Here or there, people might have used S3 for storage, different kinds of storage, not just storing your files, but S3 has a wide use case, and we will talk about all of these wide use case, real-time use case of AWS S3, and how you can host a static website using Amazon S3. I mean, you can create a simple HTML image and you can post it, or you can create a static website with CDN and all of these things and post it on S3. We will be covering all of those things on day 8. And most of these things will be 50 to 1 hour sessions. Sometimes the session can be 40 minutes also. The main goal is that to teach AWS in the point of view of DevOps engineer. So I don't want to talk about services like machine learning or AI ops. Probably you might use it, but as a DevOps engineer, these are the most frequent services, or the services that you use most widely. Okay, so day 9 is going to be AWS Cloud Formation. So AWS Cloud Formation is a infrastructure related tool, and it follows the principles of infrastructure as code, and primarily used to create infrastructure on AWS. So what all the services that we discussed here, the security services, Route 53, networking, EC2 instance, IAM, all of these things without managing manually, you can manage this entire thing using the AWS Cloud Formation. So I'll teach you in this video how to create the infrastructure on AWS using some scripts, that is the Cloud Formation templates, and also we will do a live project. So the project details are shared here in this document. So this is a very brief document. Going ahead, I'll keep updating this document, and trust me, this document is going to be filled with all the project details that you can use in your resume, or details of theory and interview questions. And like I told you, I'll be creating folders, I'll be attaching images, screenshots, whatever is required, and also some references. Sometimes, probably due to some time restrictions, we might do a single project, but I'll share you some references to do more advanced projects on a specific service. So when we learn about cloud formation, in the similar lines, probably day 8, day 10 or somewhere, or in between, I will take a special class where I will be talking about the CLI part of AWS as well. So that's not going to take much time, because we have talked about AWS CLI in previous videos on my channel as well. So, but I'll do one more brief session on AWS CLI where I'll tell you very quickly how to use AWS CLI. Because if you know CloudFormation, AWS CLI also somewhere or the other doing the same thing. So we will try to cover it in the same days. Then you have AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So one thing is, I was slightly confused if I have to teach you AWS Elastic Beanstalk here or somewhere down. So this might slightly go here or there. When I'm in a flow, and if I feel that I don't want to get distracted, probably I might put AWS Elastic Beanstalk later, but I will definitely be covering it. And as part of Elastic Beanstalk, we will learn about a fully managed AWS service deployment and scaling point of view, and we will do a very simple project as well with the Elastic Beanstalk. But from day 11, it is going to be getting more and more exciting. I know you people will really love it when I talk about CI/CD. So from day 11 to day 14 is going to be completely dedicated on CI/CD point of view of AWS. So we will be doing a complete CI/CD setup on AWS, where on day 11 we'll talk about AWS code commit, and we will learn how to use AWS code commit. Day 12, it is going to be AWS code pipeline, and we will do a project again on AWS code pipeline. It's going to be a simple project. Day 13, we will learn about AWS code build, and we will do a project on AWS code build. Day 14, we will talk about AWS code deploy, and we will use AWS code deploy. So till here, you haven't learned about containers or the container services on AWS. So what I will do is, probably on day 14, when we use the code deploy, we will try to deploy it on an EC2 instance, or if I feel that I need to teach you on container services here itself, probably without going into details of ECS or EKS, I might show you how to deploy on EKS or ECS using code deploy. But it will be very optimal and efficient if I teach you to deploy an EC2 instance here specifically, because we haven't talked about any other